...2021 was a really busy year for Bob and I. In terms of trips flown, the numbers were good. We finished up the year having moved nearly 220 aircraft. While that in itself was busy enough, the real challenge was the restructuring of the company into the Nomadic Aviation Group. We've been in this business for over 20 years, but the journey wasn't linear. Over the years, what started as a side hustle materialized into a business, which eventually morphed into what it is now, a highly capable specialty flight operations platform with the infrastructure and resources of an airline. We work on behalf of all the large lessors, managing their flight ops logistics by getting aircraft test flown, delivered, returned, or transported around the world. The decision to rebrand from Jet Test to Nomadic was made in the spring of 2020, and a full implementation of the new brand was completed just prior to our first flight as Nomadic, which occurred on October 6th of 2021. The changeover was complicated and very necessary, and it involved both repatriating a foreign business to the US and changing the ownership structure. Somehow we managed to successfully execute this transition while operating those 220 trips, and we were thinking once we got over the hump into 2022, we'd get our annual lull during the first quarter, a very typical slow period where we generally get caught up on aircraft training events, taxes, and planning for the push, which begins again in April. My last trip of 2021, which took place in mid-December, was Nomadic 513, the delivery of CC-CXD. This was the first 767 BCF converted at Changi, and one of the aircraft featured in the last Cockpit Casual episode. Going to return CC-CXD as a freighter today. Heading out to Newark right now. Catching a flight to Tokyo Narita, then I'll connect down to Singapore. We get in and we go. The non-stops were exceptionally expensive this time, so we connected through Tokyo. I got there on United from Newark and Ava on ANA through LAX. We'd get in within an hour of each other and then meet up and head to Singapore. Once we hit the ground there at Changi, we were on the van to the airplane within 20 minutes and underway. While en route to Singapore on airplane Wi-Fi, I got an unusual message from my point of contact at LATAM asking if I'd seen the airplane yet, and to please take a few pictures of it, a question they've never asked me before. I replied that I was still en route, but I'd do so, and with that, my brain started wandering. Is LATAM Cargo getting a new livery? My interest was piqued. Once we reached the airplane on the hard stand, I understood. It was December 17th, and LATAM opted to collect the aircraft before it was painted so that it could be placed into revenue service right away in order to meet the high demand of the holiday rush. I'm sure you're all well familiar with CXD now because the conversion-scarred airframe and the bare metal cargo door has become famous. So famous, in fact, LATAM has embraced its unique look. Something else a little different on this trip, LATAM brought in some cargo pallets, the kind we call cookie sheets in Singapore, and we'd be bringing them home for them. The stacks of pallets were loaded both in the cargo holds below deck and on the main cargo deck, which gave me the unique opportunity to get some footage of the loading process. Like I always say, you never know what to expect on a ferry flight, and you often have to get creative. During the loading process, it was discovered that the wood planks that the cookie sheets were loaded on were a bit too long, and the pallets wouldn't fit in the CLS tracks. At first, we thought we'd be delayed hours while the pallets were unloaded and restacked, but knowing we had a sharp crash axe in the cockpit, I had a better idea. after about 30 minutes of chopping wood on 4 different pallets, we secured the load on board and headed out over the Pacific bound for Honolulu, then Miami. It was a nice, easy trip, and I got a lot of great footage, but you're not going to see it today because I have something better. This exact same trip flown by Bob and I with a special guest. Prepare yourself, because this is a good one.
Oh, here he comes. Belvedere.
How you doing today, Steve?
Nice. Not too bad. Let's go.
I can't tell if that chicken's like not cooked or if it's going to be like a hockey puck because it's so overdone.
Yeah, I don't give a shit, man.
It's food. Yeah.
Before we get started, though, it's important that I set the stage. Remember that lull that I mentioned during Q1? Well, that never happened in 2022. Bob and I did get a few weeks of downtime to bang out an A320 and 767 sim training event, but the 11 Lionair aircraft kept us busy throughout Q1. We also moved a couple of JAL 767s to the US from Japan during that time, and that will eventually be a Cockpit casual episode, but the bulk of our time involved Lionair 737s and A320s coming stateside from both Alice Springs, Australia and Jakarta, Indonesia. You'll get to come along on a 2-ship from Alice in a future episode, but before we get to the main event, check out this takeoff out of Guam on an ex-Batik A320. This was the 7th of the Lionair returns. Why am I showing it here now? Simple. The day I got home from this Jakarta A320 trip, I went on a well-deserved vacation in Jamaica. Then, from there, right back on to Singapore with our special guest, the one and only Jon Ostrower.
80. Rotate. Positive rate. Departure, Nomadic 551, get A. Nomadic 551. Direct G, Nomadic 551. One of the perks of my unique lifestyle is that I rack up a lot of airline miles and hotel points. Not that it would make a difference if I didn't. We work hard and we play hard, but being able to travel for pleasure and spend less money definitely helps motivate me to get on an airplane on days off. And traveling with my wife, sometimes my entire family, has always been a big part of our life. With COVID keeping the pleasure travel to a minimum over the last couple of years, my wife planned a long weekend for us just as soon as our schedules permitted. I pretty much got right off of 2 back-to-back long hauls and right into an A321 with Avery bound for sunny Jamaica. Being able to turn off my phone for 5 days was awesome, and I really need to do it more often. Considering I was traveling for 12 of the 15 days prior to Jamaica, I normally would have brought on a contract pilot to fly the next LATAM Singapore pickup with Bob, but because of our special guest, I made an exception and planned to head out again right away. Both Bob and Jon Ostrower would get into Philly a few hours before me, and as soon as I landed there, I walked to the car with my wife, dropped my Jamaica bag, and grabbed my work bag, heading back into the airport.
5 days of doing nothing between Australia, Singapore, Jakarta. I don't know, there's been a lot of trips over the last couple of weeks, and we took the time to sit here and do nothing for a few days, and it was desperately needed. But today is Monday, and I'm heading back from Jamaica to Philly, where I will hop a flight to Doha and then to Singapore without even going home. I'm not excited about that.
I know.
Here we
I was
are,
trying to
kicking
do
it off.
steps along the way. Steve's the only one with a mask off.
See, we actually have John. He's making an appearance.
Yeah.
John's making an appearance.
Stowaway.
For the airplane shot. Look at this av geek.
Degenerate. Here we go. Let's get this show on the road.
There it is. It's our home for the next 14. It's too close for comfort, Bob.
In our honeymoon suite.
We're boxed in. John's over there all by his, he's taking photographs out the airplane.
John's taking pictures of airplanes again.
You're also wearing a mask still, I noticed. You're very compliant. As you should be. Leave the non-compliance to us pros.
That's for sure.
Now, John and I had been trying to hook this up literally for years. Not every trip is suited for bringing along a guest. Normally, we fly on special flight permits where non-essential passengers are prohibited, so we had to wait for a trip that operated on a standard C of A. A LATAM 767 conversion was one of those unique chances, and about 2 weeks before it happened, John confirmed his availability. It was sealed.
This is where the air current gets written most of the time, is it's here.
This is like the world essential sort of node of
Well, that's Saudi Arabia. That's Saudi Arabia.
it's bright orange. It's actually gorgeous.
It is.
It's beautiful up there.
It's quite nice.
Yeah.
Wondering what you're working on there, John.
Well,
No sneak peeks.
You have something on Russian right now. Hopefully it's-
Of course.
Yeah. It's the top of the shore.
For those of you who don't know Jon Ostrower, and that should be none of you, he's the former Wall Street Journal, former CNN aviation journalist that is now the editor-in-chief of the Air Current, far and away the best source of quality aviation news and analysis on the planet. John is easily one of the most knowledgeable and respected writers in the industry. You should definitely consider subscribing to the Air Current, and at the very least, follow him on Twitter and Instagram.
Bob. What are you doing?
How are you? You got a video going?
I do.
Just reading Twitter, trying to get on the internet.
Can you get on the internet? We're over Saudi Arabia. Oh, you're on? No.
It's old tweets without pictures.
Oh, okay. You're that addicted that
On that board.
I'd be lying if I said I don't do that from time to time, especially on flights. And before sometimes I'll go reload before we take off. So that, yeah.
So I got something to read.
Exactly.
I know.
We made it.
We did.
Leg one.
Oh, that's it.
Actually, I just leg two for me.
Yeah. How many legs is this? It's
Six.
for me,
For me, it's six.
6, 5
Yeah.
for me. 5 around the planet.
If I recall, we had about 8 hours in Doha between flights. Sometimes we're able to get rooms at the Oryx, which is a transit hotel in the terminal itself. Frequently, though, that needs to be reserved at least a week in advance, and we almost never have that much notice. We went into town and grabbed another hotel to rest up and have a meal before the second leg on this round-the-world adventure. John did say he wanted the full experience, and being constantly on the move over 4 days definitely helped us deliver that to him. It takes a certain type of personality to be successful in this line of work, and I'll tell you what, John definitely has what it takes. Second career, maybe?
Here we are.
Brief stop in Doha.
Yeah. We couldn't get rooms at the Oryx because they were sold out, as they always are.
The busy season.
Yeah, so we had to actually leave the airport in one of these baby blue cabs.
The hotel time passed in a flash, and before long we were back at the Hamad International Airport in Doha boarding our next flight. a 9-hour leg into Singapore. On this leg, we all slept soundly, and what seemed like an hour later, we were on final to land in Singapore, where we planned to hit the ground running. The crew arrival procedure in Singapore is pretty straightforward. Prior to our arrival, the aircraft is towed out to a hard stand and connected to ground power. The fuel truck is then scheduled to arrive once we get to the aircraft so that we can power it up and supervise the loading. We hire local ground handlers to meet us off the jet bridge from our arriving flight, and then they escort us through customs and back through the terminal in a golf cart to a departure gate. Then, once we're at the gate, we board a crew bus that drives us out to where the aircraft is parked. All in all, this process takes about 30 minutes. While taxiing into the gate, I spotted our jet on the ramp ready to go. This is always a good sign because it meant they're simply waiting on us.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Are you there?
I know. Well, actually, I've been kind of trying to start that trend of famous airport flooring and then making people guess just based on the flooring. Did you see that one that I did in LAX last week? Where
You know, it's all going to come down to just random Av Geek trivia in the end.
it is.
Yeah,
it really
It all
is.
boils down to that. Let's see if I can actually get my lanyard on here.
Well, we've been traveling for
3 days?
yeah, I think so.
6 days?
I have no idea what day it is.
It's only like Tuesday
No idea
afternoon,
what day it is.
Tuesday night in Seattle.
So we left.
It all blends in.
Yeah, it's been so. Yeah. Anyway, we're finally in Singapore.
I know. I was like looking at pictures because I was bored because I couldn't get on the internet on this flight.
Yeah.
And I just realized that like we'd been to Japan twice and I totally forgot about those trips.
It's weird being back here because this is the last trip I took internationally before COVID.
Yeah.
Was Singapore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So this is like, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Singapore, this is pretty dead.
What were you here for?
Singapore Air Show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was
Before
probably
everything fell apart.
That was probably like the last big event in Singapore.
It was. It actually was. Yeah. So they just had it again a few weeks ago. But I figured 2 trips to Singapore back to back.
Yeah.
Not really doable, but
Does this really count as a trip to Singapore, though?
My passport says it will. Yeah.
But this is a trip to everywhere. Actually,
There's actually people in the terminal.
Yeah, there's a lot more people in the terminal than usual for this day
We
and
were the
age.
only ones.
actually, with the vaccinated travel lane here, this place is pretty much the most open of the Asian countries.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Singapore has been accommodating through it all. I mean,
Yeah.
all in all, we've been able to transit through here.
Yeah, I've been
Get
through
the
here a
places.
lot, probably 20 times in the last since COVID.
Yeah.
Did you know that the butterfly exhibit was just left to die?
Was it really?
It's all overgrown with no live butterflies in
wow.
it.
That's really sad.
Yeah.
I'd have let the butterflies just regenerate.
Well, maybe they've regenerated, but last time Ava and I were here,
Nature reclaims everything.
it was nothing.
"31 hours since we left Philly, 37 since I left Jamaica. Halfway around the earth, and we were finally ready to kick this thing off. We arrived plainside and had about 1 hour to uplift fuel, load the catering, program the box, pick up our clearance, and then get underway. Not all operations go this smooth, and if there's one thing I've learned over the last 2 years about Singapore, is that their ground operations team run a solid operation and are nearly always on time and ready to work.
Here they come.
Come on.
John, there's your office over here.
There we go. That'll do.
The BCF conversion is an extensive major modification. Not only do they gut the interior, reinforce the floor, and cut a massive door in the side of the fuselage, they also stretch the cockpit back a few feet, install a lavatory in the flight deck, 3 supernumerary seats, 2 jump seats, a dance floor, a narrow hallway to get to the boarding door, and the main cargo deck. Of course, they also stuff a small galley at the end of the hall. I went out and did the walk around and found John, with his reflective vest of course, wildly swinging his camera around trying to capture the moment around him. Taking great airplane pics is like shooting fish in a barrel from the ramp at Changi, and John was in his natural habitat. CXE was a clean machine, a brand new freighter, and unlike her sister a few months back, with a fresh coat of LATAM cargo paint. Our flight plan route was a pretty straight shot out over Malaysia, the Philippines, and a bunch of water, then Guam, a lot more water, Wake Island, and then even more water, and then Hawaii. The flight time would be about 14 hours to Honolulu.
So stand by, please. Perfect. And let us know when we're clear to start engine 2. Okay. We're clear.
I took the Singapore-Honolulu leg and Bob took the Miami leg the next day, or night, or whatever irrelevant position we were on relative to the Earth in that moment.
Park, bring you set. Roger that. Alright, so the pump's on and we've got a good start on the right. We're ready to turn engine 1. What is it? Turn 1. I think Sasco is right at the end. I think you'll see it as we taxi now. I think. Could be on the other side though.
The sun would set and rise for us while airborne. It was late morning on Wednesday when we took off, and it would be around high noon also on Wednesday when we touched down in Honolulu. Naturally then, of course, with the sun overhead, it would be time to head to sleep.
Okay. Alright, we'll go right then on that. But it is a level of freight, correct? Right. Clear left.
Nomadic 123, 100 degrees at 7 knots, runway 20 right, 6 off.
All good, John? All good. 3,000 SID is loaded in the box. Alright, baby. Set thrust. Got thrust set. Speed 5. 80 knots. Check. You're up.
Out capture. Six 6,000 laps. I'm just gonna override all the way to that one. Let me. Flaps out.